Thank you so much. So are you prepared for the unexpected? We're talking a blown tire, a broken appliance, or an unexpected layoff. Studies show that over 60% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. And here with the importance of saving for that emergency fund and how to do it is Judah Zakalik. He's here with Peters and Associates, the Panda Guys.
Right.
How are you, buddy?
Excellent, always.
An emergency fund. I have one of these in my bank account.
Good.
I call it the old crap account.
Right.
Something terrible's gone wrong. I might have to dip into this.
Right.
What's the emergency fund?
The emergency fund is exactly for that, an unexpected emergency, cash to cover that. So you don't have to go into debt to cover that. So, a lot of people come into my office every day talking about they're in debt and they can't get out of it. And they normally don't have anything in savings, or they use that savings for something they shouldn't have used it for.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is exactly, the lead-in, a blown tire, broken refrigerator, something like that if you don't have some kind of money set aside, you're going to need to borrow it, maybe from a payday loan company or a credit card, and then you're going to be paying interest on top of that. And those can tend to steamroll, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and then you have to talk to someone about like me, about debt settlement or bankruptcy or something like that. And let's avoid that if we can.
I think the worst case scenario, where one of them is losing your job entirely, which means no income's coming in. So there's a rule of thumb when it comes to saving money for an emergency fund. You should have X amount of months saved, right?
Yeah, they say 3 to 6 months, and that's the ideal, right? We all want that. But we need to start slow, okay? So not everyone can do 3 to 6 months just like that, or it's too daunting.
They get discouraged that they don't have the money to be able to fill that much, so they just don't save at all.
Right. But it's just like anything. The first step in a long journey is just that first step, that one step, right? So that's what we need to do with an emergency fund. So if you can set aside $50 a month for that emergency fund, before you know it, at the end of the year, you have $600. And that can pay for a whole new set of tires, that can pay for a new refrigerator, that can pay for a broken, pipe in your lawn or something like that. So that's what we need.
Let's define an emergency then.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, hey, I ran over some nails in the road and all of my tires are popped.
Emergency.
That's an emergency.
Yes.
Let's, hey, there's a really great sale on Amazon today on socks.
Not so much an emergency, and I know you love your socks.
I do love my socks.
But not so much an emergency.
So I think some people, they dip into it. I actually recently dipped into mine for a stock that I have a good feeling about, which means it's terrible. Don't buy it.
Do the opposite.
But I kept 75% of what's there. Typically, you shouldn't be doing that.
Right. Now, you shouldn't be doing that. The emergency fund is just that, for things that you need to cover to live, necessities of life, okay? Now, if you start using it to go out to dinner or to buy a gift, then you quickly deplete that emergency fund, and you're back to where you were at before, which is unsecure, right?
I think for some people to disconnect that big amount of money that they see in that account
Yes.
as money that doesn't exist, essentially, a break in case of emergency, that's tough for some people. I know when I look into my savings, I have 3 accounts: my checking, my savings, and my emergency savings. And when you see the full balance, you're like, wow, I have that much.
Right.
But you don't.
You don't.
Exactly.
Right, because it's for those unknown things. It's for those things that happen and you weren't prepared for it. That's what it's for. And we really need to divorce ourselves from a consumer-driven society, right, where we constantly need things. We need new things. We need new things. I need the new car. I need the new shoes. I need this. No, that's not how you become rich, become wealthy. You become wealthy, you become rich by being secure in your finances so you can take chances. So for instance, you talked about how you took some money out of your emergency fund and used it to invest. And that's because you had enough money to feel secure to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you don't have at least $1,000, $5,000, maybe bring it up to $10,000 or $20,000 to do that, then you shouldn't feel secure enough to go spend on things that you really can't afford.
I think some people, the perfect way to start is if you get a tax return.
Right.
We generally, sometimes you get $1,500, $2,000. Stuff it right in there. You get it started.
Right. People kind of use that as a deferred spending account, right?
Yeah.
And no,
that's not the way to do it.
That's not the way to do it. Well, number one, if you're getting a refund at the end of the year, it means you overpaid your taxes.
Of course.
So it means you're making an interest-free loan to the government.
Although what people look at it as is, you know what, they're holding on to it, so I don't spend it.
Yeah, so I won't spend it. But that's why we need to be disciplined. Look, we need to discipline ourselves. We can't rely upon the government to discipline us. We need to take personal responsibility for our own finances. And part of that is just setting aside money and telling yourself, hey, no, I'm not going to touch that money unless I really need it.
And you help people that are in debt every day.
I do.
At Peters and Associates. So how do people get more information if maybe they find themselves past the emergency fund and in an emergency?
And a lot of people do. They can Google Panda Guys. They can Google Panda Law Firm. They can call us 702-818-3888. All those are really easy ways to get a hold of us. And we'll just sit down, and not everyone becomes a client of mine, and maybe we'll just talk about your finances and how you can rearrange so you don't have to hire a lawyer to get you out of debt.
We got about 30 seconds left. When
Yeah.
we're talking 3 to 6 months expenses, like that's all encompassing. The car loan, the mortgage, the electric bill. This is everything you would have to pay, and a little bit for food.
Right.
Every,
Just a little bit.
Well, because some people, they go out and eat.
Right.
So you don't
No.
save $3,000.
Living frugally.
Out.
Right,
Exactly.
living frugally. That's what it is.
There we go. So there it is.
Yeah, and we can talk about expense or luxury items later. But first, security fund.
Absolutely. Socks are going to have to wait.
Right.
It's great having you, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
All right. If you want more information on the services offered by Peters and Associates, aka the Panda Guys, you can call the number or visit the website. Both right there on your screen. They're also on Facebook or Twitter. Save up an emergency fund. You never know when you're going to need it. I wish my 19-year-old self was watching that. Hey, are you